I'm just going to get us started. So as I just said, so Courts and I are in different households today, but that's okay because then, you know, we're like the Brady Bunch there now with all 6 of us lined up. That's perfect. Here's the story. Okay, so we have the amazing Anna Siebert on today. I'm so excited to be able to talk with you because obviously we chatted the other night and yeah, I'm really looking forward to having a good look.
Oh no.
No. Webinar. That's all right. We can still hear you. So your picture's just frozen for a second. Cots has got a soup already there now.
Don't worry, guys. I was just setting up our live feed into Smart Chicks Coterie.
Perfect. And we'll just make sure that Anna hasn't dropped out and lost her internet because she is in a frozen position and I heard her no as the last minute. So before we...
So while we're waiting for Anna to come back, for those of you who don't actually know what Eat and Greet is, we're really trying to help people who are a bit of a Nigel No friends on a Tuesday, entrepreneurs. We were talking about solopreneurs in our live feed before, which we know who's online liked.
Yep.
And, you know, sometimes we get to the point where we're having lunch or we're working through lunch or whatever, and we don't actually have contact with humans other than our children or husbands or partners or whatever during the day. So in the spirit of raising our vibe, we really like the idea of just having an Eat and Greet where you can log on for half an hour, watch us interview an amazing entrepreneur from the Smart Chicks community, but then also have lunch with us as well, which is fun.
Yeah.
So hopefully Anna comes back on.
I'm sure she'll pop back in again. She's probably just logging back in again now.
Yeah.
And we'll... Actually, have we... Yeah, I wonder if you'd stop a recording, then start a recording again, whether it just does a second one straight after. Here she is. She's going on the phone now.
Hello, you're back again.
Hey, Anna.
Literally, like you're like so excited, and then everything froze. I was like, what? What?
No, we heard you go, no. All right, awesome. So let's get into it and we'll get started. So the first question is a pretty easy one, but it's really, who are you? So tell us a little bit about who you are as a person and, you know, a bit of the journey about what you've been through and done before and what's gotten you to where you are now.
Sure. Let me also just make it a little bit higher so that I don't feel like everybody's staring down my nostrils. Now I'm on my phone, so it's not the it's not, you know, not at it. Oh, that's not going to work either.
Nope, that's perfect.
Ta-da! Excellent. Okay, so who am I? Oh, well, I don't know. I feel like I've already lived a million lives. I actually find this question really difficult because, like, I feel like every year, every 2 years, I'm doing something different, and I'm a different person.
That's awesome.
Well, glad you think so. I wanted to, initially, I left school wanting to do postgrad medicine, and I was going to save the world through I was planning to do international health, and so I studied, actually, I went to study marketing. I wanted to do something completely different, thinking that, you know, once I started med, my chances would be over. Secretly, I wanted to study music, but I was too scared to, and that's kind of been a theme of my life. I've wanted to do something, but I've been kind of too scared to put myself out there fully. Like, I'll just show a little bit of myself, and like I've got all this other stuff behind me. And so I didn't even try because I didn't want to audition and fail. That would have like been the worst thing ever.
Yeah.
So I studied health science and totally felt, oh, no. So I applied for marketing and I didn't get in, but somehow got into health science, social science double, which was like, I didn't have the TR for. It was TR then. I don't know what it is, ATAR or something now. But yeah, it was like really bizarre. And then I rejected that offer and got back and said to the universe, like whatever's meant to be, you know, I'm just sending this back out here, but I don't think this is the right path for me, and got back in. And within a couple of weeks, I'd totally fallen in love with health science and anthropology and psychology and all this really great stuff that I was doing, and was set off to go save the world via public health and international health. And then I just couldn't get funding. I couldn't get into the master's program with the scholarship because I didn't have the right job behind me, but I couldn't get those jobs without the master's.
Yeah.
And it was all really frustrating. And I ended up working in skin cancer, which at first I was just like, oh, I'm so tired of being poor. I've been at uni for 7 years and I would just like to, because I'd done some other stuff. I did an advanced diploma in language. I'm always all over the shop, always onto a new thing, and eventually it had to come back and finish all the bazillion different degrees that I'd started. So I was like, I've been at uni for 7 years and I'm really tired of it, so I'll just take the job. And turned out to be really fun, but after a while, because it's a really specialised thing, I did end up getting quite bored, and so they were noticing. So they said, well, look, we need to up we've got a whole new lot of staff coming in. We need you to train them. So I did that, and I started getting into research, and that was all, I was happy for then until I got pregnant. And then that whole pregnancy journey was really eye-opening, because I certainly didn't go into my pregnancy thinking I'm going to have this, I did not think I was going to go drug-free labour. I had heard of drug-free labour as an actual thing. I'd heard of some people doing it by choice. It didn't really think it was possible. And the person that I had heard it through, she worked as a doula in the States, and she said something about home birth, and I went, oh, why? Like, that is just dumb. Why would you have a home birth? That's just dangerous, because of all the programming and anyway. And she's like, no, here women die in the hospitals all the time. Like, the women are dying in America. And I was like, oh, it's not like that in Australia. And it's not. I have to say our maternity healthcare is significantly better. However, it just planted some seeds. So when I got to 25 weeks pregnant with my eldest, and I had special appointments every 2 weeks with I had 3 different specialists that I had to see at every single visit. And I just got to the point where I was tired of fighting. They had misdiagnosed me, but they also didn't think that I could give birth. And I was just like, well, I might not be able to, but I'd like to give it a go. I don't understand why they're priming me to not have a go. That didn't make any sense to me. So I'm just going to turn this up because you're a little bit quiet. And and so that research, I'm really good at. That's something that really gets me going. So I devoured PubMed. I went through all the journals. I started reading books. I think in the next 4 or 5 weeks, I probably went through, 12 books and maybe 100 journal articles, and was really trying to wrap my head around what was going on. And then I got to 31 weeks and they told me that I was in labour and that my baby was going to be born soon. So they put me on bed rest and told me when the contractions start coming, regularly come in and we'll give you some drugs to prime the baby's lungs. And I was just like, what? I'm not in labour. And eventually, all the hype calmed down and I just went, I'm not in labour. I can just tell. And by that stage, I'd done a lot of prep, but I couldn't believe. So one, I felt very alone because felt like I had nobody to talk to about it. Because most people I knew didn't want to entertain the idea of a vaginal delivery, certainly didn't want to entertain the idea of a drug-free delivery, or birth, sorry, I hate the word delivery. And they didn't understand why I was so upset that my options were being taken away, not for good medical reason, but just from their misguided opinion. And I knew it was opinion because every single one of them had a different one. Yeah. So it wasn't just and anyway, so I had this so I was very stressed all the time, very stressed. And then I went into labour and was in excruciating pain until I realised I was in labour. And then the pain stopped and I had this incredible ecstatic experience while I was at home. It was just amazing. There's nothing in the world like what happened to me in in that labour. And then when we went to the hospital, I had a very unkind midwife who said all kinds of horrible things. And
did you deliver at home or
no? We went to the hospital after my waters broke. So I'd been in labour only about, probably only 6 hours. But they'd started off 3 minutes apart, and then they'd got to 1 minute apart, and they did that for like 4 or 5 hours. And then my waters broke and we went to the hospital, and she said, she was telling me she was going to take me home, like she was going to send me home, that I wasn't in labour. I said, look, my baby's about to be born. And she rolled her eyes at me and quite brutally gave me a vaginal examination and all kinds of stuff, and was like, oh yeah, the baby's nearly here. And there was a complete lack of trust in myself, and from them as well. But the things that she said, and also everything that I'd had to deal with. I mean, in all of those antenatal appointments, I was being told I was going to die.
wow.
Or my other option was to schedule a C-section, but then I would never be allowed to have children again. And then I'd have another doctor saying, no, actually, you're right, you're fine, there's nothing wrong with you. And I'd have another doctor over here saying, well, you might try for vaginal delivery, but you certainly won't try for a drug-free delivery. And it was just like, it was intense. Anyway, so all of that came flooding back to me. A whole lot of other stuff happened. And then they told me certain things were happening that weren't happening after she was born. So I consented to things I probably wouldn't otherwise have. And then the postnatal care, like as soon as I put my daughter to have a feed, the pain on my breast was unbelievable. And I'd been told it can be uncomfortable, but it shouldn't hurt. And I'm saying, it really hurts, it really hurts. And pretty soon I was bleeding. And there was so little support. And then leading into her early days and weeks, she didn't sleep, she wasn't calm, she wasn't content. Feeding was a nightmare, it never got better. And we saw person after person after person, and I'd look around at these other mums that had gone through a much more, what I would call much more traumatic labour, and were seemingly fine, and I was a complete wreck. And other mums seemed to be finding this motherhood thing so much easier than I was. And what was going on?
Yeah, it's hard to talk to anyone about it, because you feel like, no one else is feeling the same as you. So you feel isolated again. Yeah.
Yeah. And then, I'd find we were using different words, like with different meanings for words. So when I was saying I'd had a rough night, I meant that I'd only had a half an hour sleep the whole night. When they said that rough night, they meant I got woken up, 2 or 3, which is rough, but different kind of rough.
I'm still listening.
Okay. And so I had always, I'd used meditation before. This was not my first speed hump in my life. I'd gone through some other stuff before, and so I started drawing on a lot of those things that had kept me going previously, as I tried to make sense of this like bizarre new world. My body didn't feel the same. I didn't feel the same. Let me just shut the door. Hang on. Just to, in case my kid walks in. But I didn't feel connected to her at all. Everyone said that bonding would come, and I was waiting and I was waiting. And as the months went by, I didn't feel like I'd had depression before. I didn't feel like I was depressed, but I could tell something was wrong. And eventually I actually started hallucinating, and I actually started hearing voices, like proper, like there was someone either in my head or around me saying things. Some of them were homicidal, some of them were suicidal, like it was bizarre. And I went to the doctor and I said, something is wrong. And she said, there's nothing wrong, you just need more sleep. And so again, I was just like, well, I'm doing something wrong again. Like, I just have to keep going. And to be honest, I'm not really sure what kept me going through that period. But even once I got over the really acute, like, I could have died, or my daughter could have died. I could have been one of those stories in the media for sure. I still, like, it didn't get better. And so I just had to keep drawing on finding, like, I had to get out of it. I had to get out. I was not going to let myself. It was really sad. But I couldn't, I knew there had to be more, because, you know, I'd been through depression before. I'd been through some other really, you know, some situations that we don't need to go into today, but I'd gone down and I'd come back up again other times before. So I knew that there had to be a way through. But so I just had to keep going. And eventually, when she was 18 months old, I found that she had some lip ties and then posterior tongue ties, and she had one of the worst that the surgeon had ever seen. So we had all that revised, and that improved a lot, because she was also failure to thrive, and she had heaps of food intolerance and didn't sleep, and she was a wired kid. She was doing things that, you know, she just never wound down. And it was the first time, finding that was like the first time that I knew that this was different.
Yeah.
Like this, no, for the first time I felt like I'd been validated.
Yeah, it wasn't you. There actually was some things that she needed help with that were making life different to all those other mums, or a lot of those other mums out there.
Exactly. And we were seeing the pediatrician every week. Like, it's not like I hadn't been looking for help for her. We just hadn't been able to find the help. Yeah. And then slowly we got other diagnoses. Like, we found out she had high level broad spectrum sensory processing disorder and a few other things that start to explain the differences. Hey, darling. How are you? You want to come sit on my lap? I'm on a call, so I have to keep talking. Yeah.
I would like some banana.
Okay, you eat that.
Thank you.
This is what I got in exchange for the banana.
Yeah.
And then by this time, I think I'd put together. So I've always been the kind of person that if I'm not comfortable with an answer, I won't take that as my final answer. So all this time I'd been looking, why were some of the mums okay and some of the mums not okay after their birth experiences? And what were the difference of the mums that were thriving through motherhood and the mums that weren't? And putting together all these different circumstances and scenarios and trying to work out the differences. And I worked out that one of the big things, especially through birth and postpartum, was support. And that support could look like all different things, but in particular, somebody to go to make sense of all the information, somebody to explain the medical needs that they go through, someone in those early days to come and sit and do the things that your brain is telling you to do, but you really shouldn't be doing because you need to be resting after you have a baby, you know, recovering from the pregnancy, and looking into like the anthropology of it and all the social involvement. And I said to my husband one day, I said, right, I can't sit by. There's too much. I need to help. I need to start helping some people. So I decided to become a childbirth educator because I felt like there wasn't enough options for education in Adelaide, aside from there was the hospitals, and then there was a couple of others, but they seemed to be very like one kind of birth focused.
Yeah.
And I wanted, you know, I knew a lot of women that did want to give birth vaginally, but they didn't necessarily want to do it drug free, and they didn't know the kind of risks associated with, you know, each of their choices that they might be making. And I wanted something that would really help women to start to trust their bodies again. So I starting to become a childbirth educator, and along the way people started saying, can you come to my birth? Can you come to my birth? So I started
a natural flow on. Yeah.
So I started becoming a doula. And as soon as I made that decision, a friend of mine put a post up in one of our mums groups and said, hey, a friend of mine needs a doula. Does anybody know of one? I was like, me. And it just kind of went on from there. It was amazing. And it was just incredible. And then, you know, once all that started going, I was like, these mums still need help afterwards. Like, it doesn't end once the baby's out. I really want to be able to continue that. And so many people were saying, your kid is really quite intense. How are you staying so calm with her? And I hadn't really thought about it because I was, to start with, I was just trying to survive. But the strategies that I'd been using to survive, eventually when the sunshine broke through just a little bit, as my trauma started to heal, it meant that instead of just surviving, I really turned it into thriving.
That's great.
And I wanted to share that with the people.
Yeah, Kelly's just said here, Anna was my doula and I had the experience I wanted for my second baby, and I believe it was mainly due to the headspace that Anna helped me to get into. So,
oh, thanks, Kelly.
Tell us about, like, your story is amazing, right? Like, I'm sitting here with my jaw on the table because I didn't actually know some of the stuff that you just talked about. And you've just got such an amazing presence. You've just got this like vibe that's just so cool, calm and collected. This is why I love you. What I would love to hear from you is, if someone wanted to work with you, what does that process look like? What is your business called? And take us through, like, imagine I've got baby number 3. Sorry, hold on. Just let me stop laughing for a minute. Not this year. But let's imagine that I've got baby number 3. And I've decided that you're going to be my doula, and I would like antenatal and postnatal care from you. What does that look like? Walk me through the process.
Well, so before I sign anybody, I like to do a quick meet and greet first, because when we go into that birth space, it's such an intimate, private thing that I really want to make sure that we're a good fit, because, well, first of all, I need to know that you don't think I'm going to be a saviour. That's really important, because I can't guarantee, I'm not the one actually giving birth, regardless of what you think I can or can't do. It's not my body and it's not my baby. But then also, you courts would need to feel like that, I'm going to fit in with your family and your partner as well, because a doula doesn't replace a partner. A good doula should enhance the partnership in the best way possible. So then if you then decide to go ahead, then you get 3 pre-birth visits in your pregnancy. And in those visits, we talk about things that we process stuff that you, like previous experiences. We can talk about, what you're hoping for. We can look at the different options. I have a workbook that I wrote this year that all my doula clients get for free.
Great.
That you can do that in your own time as well, so you don't even have to, it really helps to nut out some things so that when we come to a pre-birth visit, then, there's already a lot of stuff. You've got some better questions and there's less to sort through. I also have a birth.
Do you do those 3? Roughly what stages do you do those 3 visits?
It really depends on the person, and some people like to buy more, but most people only need 3. It really depends. Like, some people like to do 1 per trimester. Some people like to do 1 in second, and after they've had their 20-week visit, and then 2 in third. Some people like to save them all up towards the end, because that's when they feel like they need the most support. There's really no way to. Yep. It's really up to the situations. And I do also, there's an option to have a birth reclaiming session where we kind of reenact the birth, a birth that has been, if for whatever reason, like, it doesn't matter how the births go, in essence, as long as you're happy with them. And if there's grief, or if there's sadness, or there's stuff we don't want to, feel like we've missed out somehow and there's stuff that's unresolved, then we can kind of reclaim. Yeah, and we reclaim that memory. That it doesn't take away what happened, of course, but kind of it changes the filter that we put over it.
Great.
I've worked 3 sessions, and I'm in labour, so I'm really happy you've talked me through what the process is potentially going to be. And I assume that this is kind of targeted towards people that maybe aren't attending antenatal classes at a hospital or something like that.
Most of them do.
Okay.
Yeah, most of them do. And even my childbirth education classes. So my doula clients get obviously a discount to my classes. My classes are run basically to fill in all the gaps that the hospital leave. So because they don't, well, first of all, there are regulations around what they are allowed and not allowed to know, because they have to toe the hospital policies. But they don't necessarily have the time or the resources to give people what it is that they're looking for. So let me just rephrase that. They can give people what they're looking for, but sometimes it's not enough, is what I mean. Yeah. So this is meant to just fill in all those gaps, work with them. And I do encourage people to go to the hospital classes because it can help to give you an idea of the kinds of things that are normal for our hospital.
And this leads into the fact that you're not just a doula going through the process like Courts is saying, but you also offer classes. So that's another service you offer. Yeah.
And
now imagine I'm in labour today.
Yeah.
I know what contractions are because it's my third child. I feel like it's time that, the contractions are 5 minutes apart or whatever. I give you a buzz. Is that what happens?
Yeah. Well, you can give me a buzz at any point in the labour and we can talk about what's going on. After having done some long labours, I limit now my time to 12 hours. But that can be done however. So I can go visit for an hour and we can get, see how things go, and then I can come back later. And that's just because I'm not going to be as present after 12. Labour's pretty physical for everybody involved. But also some doulas have died. So I'll either come or we'll chat on the phone. And we just keep doing that till you get to the point where you think, yeah, this is it. Like I'm getting to the point where I need some help. And so after the 12 hours, you're not left in the lurch. I call my backup, who you would have met during your pregnancy, so that you have somebody else there. And then I'll come back after a sleep. So and so
for the birth, try to be there for the birth.
Yeah. Or whatever is best for the situation. Like sometimes some women get really private in labour and actually they just want to be left alone.
So what does a doula do? So is a doula I'm just saying, so that people that are watching, are you do you catch the baby? Is the intention that you time it so that you're there to catch the baby? Or
I don't do anything clinical.
You're just literally a support person. Okay.
Yeah. Literally support person. So I do physical support because I can help you with positioning, I can help you with massage, I can help you with acupressure.
Emotional,
Emotional, lots of mental. And actually at the end of the day, birth is a lot of emotional and a lot of mental.
It's mindset.
Yeah, a lot of it is mindset. And
we know the body's capable of it because it's been doing it for thousands of years. So
and there's a lot that we've been conditioned to believe about labour that it's not our fault, but that really profoundly impacts how things go. So there's a lot of that, but then also, helping you make decisions as well. I don't make the decisions for you, but I can help to make sense of what it is that you're trying to do for your labour, or if it comes to a point where you've really hoped for something. And I do encourage all of my clients to think about all the options that might happen, even possibly happen in labour, and think about what you might want in those scenarios as well.
Cool.
So that if it doesn't go to plan, because birth can't be planned.
So it's all about
and to help the grief process, because it's actually really valid. Like there is nothing wrong with having hoped that you'd birth a particular way and not having that come to.
And I think it's important as well that your role is really to establish a bit of a relationship with the partner as well, whoever that partner is, whoever the person is in the room, should I say, that's helping that person. I know from personal experience with me, my husband's role was to keep the nurses away from me and do not let them talk about epidurals. That was his sole job. Keep them out of the room. Do not mention epidural, because your mindset needs to stay strong. And as soon as you've been out, you can go, oh, hold on a minute. I've had that bad boy before. Yeah. That's definitely what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah.
And even with those strict instructions, like I must say the second birth was a lot better than the first birth, but even with those strict instructions, the nurses still came in and offered it.
Yeah.
Crazy. So having someone like you that really can be there almost as a backup to that as well would be amazing.
Yeah. I make a big point not to engage much with the other providers, because I really think, I mean, I'm not clinical. I don't know medically what the woman and baby need. But I'll stand with them. I'll stand with the woman, I'll stand with the partner, whatever it is that they need to sort of help do what they need to do. But I mean, also there's often this misconception that doulas are all dreadlocked and only do home births with no, oh dear, are you guys still there?
Yeah.
Yes.
My screen just froze for a sec. Yeah, and only do home births that are completely drug-free, and that's just not true. I support C-sections, I support epidurals, I'll support any kind of birth. If it's the birth, you know, if it's what you want is to have me there as your support, I'll support you in whatever that is, as long as it's legal.
Yeah.
I don't support, I can't be there if there's not a midwife or a doctor there.
Yeah.
I don't.
So, Anna, I have just been absolutely mesmerised by everything that you've been talking about, right? Like, it's just like you've just spent time and time has stood still, and I'm just amazed. I would love for you to have the opportunity to reach out to the Smart Chicks community and really give them something maybe that you would like to offer them, or I don't know what you had planned up your sleeve, but we always ask the Eat and Greet guys to offer something to the Smart Chicks community, and also something like a bit extra special for our Smart Chicks members. So have you got anything that you would like to offer to them?
I do, but I've actually got two things, because you know, not everybody's giving birth. So I've got a birth offer. I've also got a motherhood offer.
Fantastic.
So I'll start off with my birth offer, because that's what I've been talking about most. My next preparing for birth workshop is coming up September 17th. Cool. And the normal price for that is $195, but for everyone on Eat and Greet or Smart Chicks, it's $175, and for Smart Chicks members, it's $159. But you also get my preparing for birth workbook free. That's worth $4.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you.
So welcome.
And you're mothering.
And then my motherhood one. So my Calm in the Chaos course is coming up, starting also in September. It's an 8-week program to help mums overcome overwhelm. And so we look at all the cultural, neurobiological, that's my daughter flicking the light on and off, issues that contribute to overwhelm, and how we work together to overcome them. So the early bird for that, okay, it's daytime though, so it won't be darker because there are windows. The early bird price is $495, and that's ending in 1 week. So for Smart Chicks, after that point, it goes up to $595.
Okay.
Really soon. So for Smart Chicks, sorry guys. For Smart Chicks, that price is permanent, that early bird price. But if you want on now, there's a $50 discount, so it's $445, and then after this week, $495. But for Smart Chicks members, it's $445, like the whole time.
Oh wow, that's beautiful.
That's amazing. So Anna, what we're going to do is obviously flick us details to that those two offers, and like the copy that you want us to put into the members lounge, and we'll definitely make sure that the members are aware of that, and jump into Promo Wednesday tomorrow in the Coterie, which is our free Facebook group for those of you watching at home. And yeah, you can definitely let the guys know tomorrow that that's the case. That is absolutely amazing.
Courts.
Yay. Thank you. That was gorgeous.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much. And we're so grateful for everyone who comes on to Eat and Greet, aren't we? We've actually got the smartkicksglobal.thinkific.com lounge now. And for all of you guys who maybe didn't see this live, you're welcome to jump in there. It's a freebie and you can watch Anna from start to finish. Or if you were here and you want to watch it again, that's always going to be available to anyone who wants to jump in and have a look.
Yay. Beautiful. Great story. And it's great to really be able to bring something positive out of something that was a very difficult experience for you, but just realizing what wasn't available for you, and the people that need that support. And we need support in all areas of our life. So how beautiful to have you to be able to support women in Adelaide particularly, obviously. It's lovely.
So we might just stop the recording, and if anyone wants to hang around to ask any questions, feel free.